Shadow of the Tomb Raider, for those that do not know, is the third game in the most recent Tomb Raider series. In the grand scheme of things, this is actually the 12th Tomb Raider game to be made, but after Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix rebooted the series in 2013, it has taken on a whole new lease of life. As such, if you are new to the series, you may be thinking, do I need to go back to the 2013 Tomb Raider game and start from there before jumping into this one? The answer to that is twofold really. Sure, you can go back and get yourself acquainted with the characters a bit more and learn a little bit more about Lara Croft and her humble beginnings, but in all fairness, it's not mandatory. This game has some childhood Lara sections which can actually be some of the most challenging areas in regards of puzzle solving. These areas will catch you up on her backstory and fill you in on the things in her past that has brought her to this point and set her on this path. So jumping in here is completely fine if you have a backlog the size of Mount Fiji and you know you will never get to it if you have to start back at the beginning. If this is the case, just play the game whilst it's on Game Pass if you like, it's fine. After all, with my Game Pass or Play reviews, I like to look at a game from the perspective of someone checking out games for the first time via Game Pass and to see if the game I am reviewing is worthy of your time and subscription fee to download and play, or if it's worth purchasing Game Pass in the first place to play this game. On the first point, I would say yes. It is worth your time and a few days of your subscription period to finish the story at least. Whether or not you decide to gather all the collectibles and complete every side quest on top of that is up to you. To answer the question of is the game worth setting up a subscription for, then the answer is not as easy to give. I say it is if you are able to dedicate a few hours each day to play this and then play another game or two within that month's subscription. If however you can only play video games for a few hours a week and may not even finish the story in a month, then I would advise that you hold off and purchase this when it's in a sale or in a second-hand basket in GameStop or something like that. This way you will have all of the time in the world to finish it and not have to worry. Getting into the gameplay itself, it does a fine job of being a Lara Croft Tomb Raider game. In that I mean it's exactly the same as the last two games in the series. It does not offer anything new or innovative, it just follows the same principles of the last two games in the series and runs with it to kind of wrap up the trilogy. As this series is all about Lara becoming a Tomb Raider, it is basically the lead into what she becomes or became in the earlier editions. There are moments in the game that try to convey the fact that even though Lara is trying to do good, her actions can and will cause pain and heartache for others. It does not dwell on this and kind of glosses over it fairly quickly. I was wondering if this was going to take a toll on Lara and make her lose it at some point in the game, but the game is pretty much kept on the straight and narrow without swinging too far one way or another. Which is kind of disappointing but also understandable in regards to the fact that they are trying to set up the events that happened before the events we have played before. If you have played the other games in the series, it will not take you too long to feel very familiar with the controls and all of the other things you need to do in this game from crafting to climbing. Everything follows the same routine as the last game, more so than the first as it is a kind of open world in which you can fast travel from point to point as you could in the previous game. There are many things to collect along the way, from trinkets and documents to treasures and gems. There are animals to hunt, plants to farm and materials to gather along the way which will allow you to upgrade your tools and create healing tonics and other artificial boosts. If you are new to the series, all of this is explained fairly well in the game and it won't be long before you are up to speed with everyone else. I do feel a few corners were cut during the development of this game. You spend a fair bit of time in one village in the game and sad to say all of the residents are clearly made up from the same man, woman or child asset model. Almost every male, female or child character will have the same face with just a change to their hairstyle, hair colour or face paints and piercings. The only difference is in the fact that they are male, female or a child. So much so that when I was first introduced to the village and went around collecting the side missions as well as the main mission, I caught myself thinking this guy gets around a lot and I seem to be doing a lot for him. I honestly did not know at first that they were supposed to be separate NPCs. Only when I started to do the missions and went past them again or saw them with other men that looked just the same did I realise how lazy the development felt. The leader of the village does have a different character model for some reason. I don't know why she would look any different to the whole village if the rest of the village all looked the same, but that is how it is. The pacing of the game moves along fairly well and keeps you interested in the main plot, which is cool. For those that didn't know, there are 9 challenge tombs scattered around the main story area. These offer a little bit of a puzzle solving challenge within a confined tomb-like area. I did wish that the challenge tombs were available to you upon finding them, just to mix things up a little along the way. Most of the time when I found a challenge tomb they required a tool from my toolkit that I did not have yet. This was the same in the previous game and I didn't care too much for it there, but here I felt it would have been a little bit more fun to be able to run them as I found them. Instead I finished the whole story first and then went back to run all of the challenge tombs afterwards. The challenge tombs were not necessarily that challenging. They did have me a little confused from time to time, but that was mostly because I was overthinking things instead of trying out the most obvious thing first. As such, there were a number of times when I felt like kicking myself for not noticing the solution earlier. That I like about these types of games though. I enjoy a good puzzle that lets you know that the answer was staring you in the face all along and you were too blind to see it. I kind of can't see the wood for the trees moment. This is why I wish they made it so that I could access them when I found them. I think it would have broken up the gameplay and story just enough to give you a breather and allow you to just have fun with the game while completing the main story. Other than that, I didn't really have any complaints. It does not innovate, but it also does not do much wrong either, and it is a decent addition to the series for new players and old alike. The game scores an 82 on Metacritic with a user score of 7.1. It has 63 achievements to collect for your 1000G, 99 with all DLC for 1690G in total. And the average time to beat the game is around 22 hours. I have to agree with the Metacritic scores for the most part. It is a fine, upstanding Tomb Raider game that will keep fans and newcomers busy for the duration, and during that time there is a lot of fun to be had with the game. Unfortunately, it does nothing new or innovative for the series and therefore needs to lose a point for that. The lazy character model pasting also loses a point in my book, so overall, Games Done Wrongish scores Shadow of the Tomb Raider 8 out of 10. Not great, but not bad at all. If you would like to see my playthrough of the main story campaign or me fumbling through the challenge tombs, then the links to those playlists is in the description below and will also be in the cards at the end of this video. Thank you for watching and I will see you again next time. If you like this video, please consider watching another. 2 suggestions will be on screen now. Also, if you have not subscribed already, please do so by clicking the icon in the middle of this screen. Every view and subscription will go a long way to helping the channel grow, and in turn will result in more content for you. Thank you, and until the next time, goodbye.